As the video title alludes to, this is a video I shouldn't ever have had to make because it's all to do with the pedal box, which we'll go into more detail on the bench, and specifically the clutch part here. So the clutch is on a spindle that goes from here to the pedal, and as you can see from here, when the pedal is up it's in fine, but there's a lot of play in the pedal there, and as you push down you only get a tiny bit of travel, and that is because, as we'll see on the bench, the spindle shaft that runs through here that's connected at that end, the pedal has come loose from it. Now there is either a pin that goes through there or there is a series of grub screws, one on either side. I can't quite see from in here, and I shouldn't have had to have made this video because I should have noticed this when I had it out in the first place, because as you can see I've cleaned it up and painted it. As it is, if a job's worth doing, as Jeff says, it's worth doing twice. So I'm going to remove the clutch cable linkage here, which is simply a nut on the end holding this ring connector there. The master cylinder is held on the back of this with 2 bolts, so I'll have to go up under the front, and then we've got 3 bolts holding this into the car itself, and the brake return spring I can just unhook there and then. So I'll remove this pedal box and then we'll have a closer look on the bench, see exactly what's wrong, and we'll start getting that one fixed up. So as you can see out on the bench, it's a relatively straightforward simple pedal assembly. There is no accelerator pedal on it because the accelerator pedal or the throttle pedal is floor mounted, and these two, the brake and the clutch, are hung here from the firewall. So the brake is dead easy. There is just a swinging pedal that spins on that center shaft, and there is a rod there that is the actuator rod that goes into the back of the master cylinder, which is just bolted to the front of that on the opposite side of the firewall. So there's literally nothing to go wrong there. There's very little play in those plastic bushes. I mean, it's probably more than is ideal, but it's fine. I'm not going to swap them out now. The problem is over here with this, because these pins here are what should hold this in position on the shaft, but if I hold that down with my elbow, we can twist the other side of the arm, which means as this pedal is moving, this is not going to be moving because the two are not connected. So what we're going to have to do is look at this pin and see whether that's just simply worked its way loose, which is possible because it's proud on both sides, or whether that is a grub screw, or whether that just simply needs pulling out and a new pin putting in. So I'm going to have to try and remove this here to actually have a closer look, and in order to do that I'm going to need both hands, so I'm going to have to stick this onto a tripod. So these look like they are grub screws. Actually, I get a little bit of faff around with them, which makes me think they're probably not hardened, so I'm going to have a go at just trying to drill this out to see what's what. Well, it's certainly broken it off, which isn't great, but we weren't exactly in a brilliant position to start off with. So that's done it from that side. Let's finish it off from this side. Okay, so we've now got no pins in there whatsoever, which means we should be able to just, yep, there we go, slide the pedal assembly off. Now they've come out without damaging any threads. In fact, it looks like there is no threads in there at all. Which means this might be a little bit of an easier job than I thought. So if we look at this shaft, we'll just draw that straight out the middle there. You can see that what we've got here is, it looks like a hole that should run all the way through. So we'll just clean that up a little bit. So that being the case, what I need to do, I try not to talk over my drill there. That being the case, what I need to do is to find something in my toolbox that I can use as a pin to just pin this through and then pin the ends over in order to hold it in position. So whilst I'm doing that and cleaning this up and re-greasing it before assembly, I'll just stop the camera, otherwise you'll just have 10 minutes of me faffing around in the toolbox trying to find something. So see you in a minute. Okay, so having had a little look at what we've got on the shelf, I have come up with a plan. I'm actually going to be using just a Bogo bolt, which is the right size to slip through there almost completely to the end, and is just slightly oversized for this central shaft. So what I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to be able to drive it through here, and it's going to lock in place, and then I won't need to pin over the other end, and it means it will be able to, if necessary, be driven out relatively easy from that end if it ever needs to be removed. At least that's the plan anyway. So I've cleaned off the shaft, which is going to go through there, and I'll just stick some white grease over it. So unfortunately it does go sticky after a while, and we'll end up in that same slightly gummy position we were before, but fingers crossed not for a little while. Make sure I get the pedal assembly on the correct way round, otherwise it's never going to work, is it? And we'll align all of this here. Okay, so we're on and fully aligned. Which means that the clutch should move from here around to about there, which is much better than the movement that we had previously. The hole is lined up through there, so let's just try and drive through this new pin and see if I can get it to go through the central shaft. Well, I did that relatively easily. It's not going to pull out, and we no longer have any play in there, which means when I reconnect this and put this back into the car, which will take a few minutes and I won't bother filming it, we should have a functioning clutch as well as the functioning brake that we had previously. So here we are reinstalled, and as you can see, you've got positive action here at the clutch cable end. I have also added this reinforcement strap here, which holds down this tube, which was flexing off the floor, because what I had actually forgotten is where I'd cut this section of floor out, I'd had to slice through the original bracket that was there that held this down in place, which meant that as well as the play at this end, when you depressed the pedal, what was happening is that it was pulling on here and it was lifting this up off the floor, which meant it was not holding the cable under the correct amount of tension, which is obviously not going to be helping at the clutch end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get under the car with a light and see if I can record the clutch arm actuation, so we can see if you've got the right amount of movement at the clutch end now. Well, it was a little bit dark to film under there, but we did have proper clutch actuation. There's not much movement on there. I think there might be a bit of stretch in the cable because as you can see, it's not springing back quite as it should, and it's not entirely down to the spring at the other side, which is connected. So I'll have to have a little more look into that now, but that is one problem with the pedal box solved. As you can see, we now have full connection. So accidental content that I shouldn't have had to have done, but at the very least it does mean one more job ticked off the list.